Why? There it goes. All right. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to MT Dungeon. Here with our guest commentator Gabe tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first round we have is the 4-color whir versus the Esper Goryo's Vengeance deck. Now, listen, Gabe's been out of Magic for a little bit.
Oh, this is the Zach's deck that he was playing yesterday against. What's the name, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. See, Gabe at least watches the stream, so he knows at least somewhat of the deck lists.
I try to pay attention because I know nothing about the meta.
Yeah. The War Person deck is a deck that's been coming up in the meta. It's pretty much the new version of Lantern Control.
Okay.
So we're a lockout prison deck is what we are. This is my first night like playing it, and I made so many mistakes. Like this deck is like almost on par with legacy decks, where if you make one mistake, it can just cost you the whole game.
Mm.
And so it's definitely those decks you have to put in the time to learn. But like advantage wise, Goryo's probably has the better advantage. I know it's closer to 50-50. Because we do have the Chalice of the Voids to lock them out on 1 and 2, which is a lot of the stuff that they cast. But they can delve like into Tassigers or Gurmags, and so that's always upsetting.
Look at him dropping cards. He's nervous. Come on, Zach. I'm gonna get you.
I know we're still working out some kinks with our new, I guess, studio that we now have down at Play Live. So as we're working out more kinks, we'll actually have more and more videos of more and more decks that we'll start doing commentary on. So help expand your knowledge of Modern.
It just sucks being out so long.
Yeah, I mean, the last few sets have just like really they've had like very format defining cards come out. And it's like, oh, 7/7. 8. Not 8. Looks like Goryo's going first. They've had some very, like, format-defining cards come out recently, like the Arclight Phoenixes.
Yeah.
And that's just put the, put that deck on the map.
I still say it's shenanigans. I didn't win that. Pure shenanigans.
And then, like, Creeping Chill for the Dredge decks. That just put that deck back up into Tier 1. It's just like, look, free Lightning Helix without having to pay any mana. It's just like, ugh. And so
I've seen a few decks playing the Manamorphous, and I was like, that's kind of, like...
With the Is It Phoenix decks, because it's a free spell, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I've always said. I was like, why don't people play this? It's a great spell.
Yeah.
And I just never seen it. And then like watching some of these more recent decks, I'm like, okay, people are playing it.
Yeah. Well, cause it was good in Storm because you just want to keep playing spells and get the Storm count up. But if you're not playing that style of deck, it's just kind of like draw a card, and you want things that just do more than draw a card. It's like starting off with Watery Grave, Inquisition of Kozilek. So we're gonna reveal Mistress Bauble, Whir, and I believe a Bottle Cloister. So he's only able to take the Whir or the Bauble. So we're going to go Bauble, Academy Ruins, pass the turn back. It's like we're going to fetch. Usually he's probably going to do a Jace Vern's Prodigy. It's alright. I promise. All these games aren't worried. You're going to know some creature decks, and you're like, yeah, I know this one.
Yeah, getting to learn some of the combo decks, that Cheerio deck that they were playing the other day, too, was pretty
Oh, my God.
intense. I was like, man, I would misstep all over that thing.
Yeah. And I said, like Whir is definitely one of those decks where, I'm trying to get as many hours into it as I can. Because it's just going to be, there's so many things that you have to, keep track of and, be ahead of your opponent. So, alright. Bobble my opponent, draw for Bobble, draw for turn. This is Thopter Foundry. land for turn. Unfortunately, can't play a Thopter Foundry, so we're going to pass. I will say, though, playing this version of the deck that night, I don't like the 4-color version of the whir deck. I think the quote-unquote 3-color, it's blue-black. We're splashing red for the Aether Grid out of the board. The blue-black just seems way more consistent. Like, the splash of green for Ancient Stirrings just didn't feel worth it when I was playing. So, and if especially if you're going to be playing Saturday in our tournament, shameless self-promotion, like you'll see a lot of these decks that are going to be on camera there, and so just like knowing what they're going to do and maybe how to fight them is always helpful. Like, information is a big part of Magic.
Nah, I'm going to go in there like completely dumb to everything everybody's playing, still win a couple, laugh in their face.
I know, like, if we can, by the way, he's on Allies, and so if we get his deck done, he'll definitely be one of the decks on camera. It's just like, alright, we haven't had this deck before, let's go. But so we definitely like the unique decks. Oof.
Well, I don't know, just play testing it, I've had some really good luck with it, and then I've had just horrible luck against them. Like, I ran against Boggles once, and that just...
Oh, yeah, no, Boggles is a bad matchup for a lot of decks.
I was just like, I had nothing really to sideboard against it.
Yeah.
Because looking through the allies, there's nothing really to go into, like, any type of removal. And it was just like, turn 0 Leyline. I was like, fuck.
Yep, that's...
I was like, okay, so I can't target you. And then they started dropping the creatures. I think it was like turn 3 and 4. I was dead. I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I looked at my sideboard. I was like, I don't know what to do against this.
Yeah.
Okay. Second game, Leyline. I was like, God damn it.
Right. So Monster Mentor coming down tick on Jace for an Inquisition to get a token. I'm just in a really bad spot here. The mana base for this deck is also just super clunky on the 4-pillar side, and that's why I feel just going to the blue-black side is just the better way to go, because I feel it's just going to be way more consistent. So collect brutality, dreamy for 2. Swing across. Like, at this point, I'm hoping to get an ensnaring bridge to at least hold him off. So draw for Bottle Cloister, draw for turn. Damping Sphere doesn't do a whole lot. So put down the Tormod's Crypt. Going for the Ancient Stirrings. Looks like I found an Ensnaring Bridge, so I might be able to buy a couple of turns with it. Because, I mean, that's a nice combo. Is Ensnaring Bridge with the Bottle Cloister. Is during my opponent's upkeep, my hand goes away. And so I have no cards in hand. They can't tag in with creatures with power greater than 0. Like, Noble Hierarchs get around that, and that's always upsetting, but... it's just like, oh, I have 3 Hierarchs. Hit you for 3, and it's like, I hate this. But, this is just one of those weird matchups. Like, we didn't see any... haven't seen any Chalice's game 1, which, I mean, has definitely hurt us. Oh, for it's a fairy! Uh-oh. So he'll down tick the fairy, put the bridge, and then swing for game. That's unfortunate. Now I'm sad. Alright, well, while we're getting ready for sideboard, let's go ahead and take a look at what they actually sideboarded in. And let's go to that. There we go. So it looks like I took out an engineered explosives, 4 welding jars, a damping sphere, and a witchbane orb, and brought in a Grafdigger's Cage, a Sorcerer's Spyglass, 2 Size, and 3 Tezzeret Agent of Bolas. At this point, like, because I played against this deck, I know it doesn't have a whole lot of artifact destruction, so the welding jars are just kind of like dead cards. So we want to bring in things like Grafdigger's Cage, so he can't bring his creatures back from the graveyard, or downtick Jace to cast like more Inquisitions or things like that. Sides cast our artifact spells and just get 1/1s that we can try to attack with, or obviously block with, or just draw more cards. And then Agent of Bolas is just a finisher against him, because I know he doesn't have a whole lot of Planeswalker removal either. And let's see, looks like he took out a Fatal Push, 2 Collective Brutalities, a Goryo's Vengeance, a Jace Vryn's Prodigy, Liliana Last Hope, and a Murderous Cut. Brought in Engineer Explosive, Ceremonious Ejection, Surgical Extraction, Counter Squall, Disenchant, Stony Silence, Unmoored Ego. A bunch of 1-ofs in the sideboard. But, I mean, I guess
situationally
and like Esper, the Esper Goryo plays, I guess, like a mid-range tempo deck, and so like that kind of a sideboard plan is okay. But it's like when it's just a bunch of 1-ofs, I guess you can make your opponent think you have more and make them play around things. But it's also just like awkward sometimes. Like, I really need this one card in my deck, and if you don't get it, it's just real bad. Let's see. Also, while they're sideboarding,
I got the notification for the stream.
Hey! Since we're talking about selfless promotions earlier anyway, tournament in less than 2 weeks. We hosting it at Play Live in Union Gap. So if you live in the Northwest and want a shot at winning a Mythic Edition box Teferi, come on down. Unfortunately, we will not be live streaming it because we have some other things going on, but we will record a bunch of matches, and me and my business partner Ben actually might pick a day and just stream all the matches and treat it like a tournament. So a good, 8, 9, 10-hour stream, just bring you guys nothing but modern content and a whole bunch of upsets. More than likely. Alright. Looks like we are shuffling back up for game 2. And again, like I feel like the Whir deck probably is a 55-45 advantage games 2 and 3. We're probably about that to start with anyway. But like, if with our deck, if you don't see Chalice early, always just that's what you're trying to use to slow our opponents down. It's like, hey, Chalice on 1 or Chalice on 2, like really screw up your deck for a little while. I mean, we can go, turn 1, like land, Mox Opal, Tormod's Crypt, Welding Jar, Chalice on 1, pass. It's like, that feels really good. Like, you're not going to Thought Seize me, you're not going to Bolt me, you're not going to Inquisition me. Like, we're happy.
I used to love that. Thought Seize and Surgical Extraction. Turn 1. That card is just gone.
Right? Oh, you're a combo deck? Not anymore.
It's just gone. I don't know what to tell you. You're at a slower pace now, so you got to figure out something else to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, like, Storm out of the board will usually bring in, like, the empty the Warrens. Like, oh, you took my Grave Shot. Well, I got a secondary plan. Just try and kill you with goblins. Doesn't always work, but I have a shot at least.
It was always my favorite to do that, too. On, like, game 2, after they milled down to, like, 5. Such a slap in the face. They're like, finally, I got the cards I need. Start the game. Oh, no, you don't.
Right, it's like, you thought you did, but you didn't.
Now you got 4 cards in hand. You lay down
Goddamn black players. They're the worst. They're a cancer in the Magic.
Mono black.
Alright, starting off with an island. Mox Opal. Engineer Explosives on 0. I mean, like, I know he plays Lingering Souls and the Monastery Mentor, and so it's just like, Engineered on 0 seems pretty good. Alright, Inquisition. Looks like we have Philopter Foundry, Crucible of Worlds. I think a bottle cloister and an additional land. So I'm pretty sure he takes the Thopter Foundry here, which I think is probably the best one. Considering that, I mean, like in the current list, it's just a one of each. There's one Thopter Founder and one Sword of the Meek, and because I can go search for them or just draw out the game long enough to find them. So I mean, putting it in the graveyard doesn't like kill me because I have Academy Ruins, but it slows me down. So I have to waste an extra turn of putting it back on top and then drawing it and then playing it again. So. Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. Oh, it's a one-lander. Oh, that's not good. The war deck is definitely one you need to hit your land drops like the first 3 turns, and then after that you don't care. But it's like land for turn. If he goes fetch Jace, he's on track to get it flipped turn 3. Thoughtseize, we're gonna reveal Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. So, I think at this point he probably wants to take a whir or the Sorcerer's Spyglass. Because if we get a land, I can just cast the Sorcerer's Spyglass, and then it also turns on the Mox Opal. So then I go from 2 land to 3 land. It looks like he agrees. Oh, an additional whir. Oh, man. When we having this conversation about sometimes you get real lucky and then sometimes you're just like, no. Yeah, we're definitely in that situation right now. But yeah, throughout the whole night, there were just so many times where I made just little mistakes. And they end up costing the game. It's one of those real unfortunate things. No turn 3 play. Hey, look at that. We got a land. It's a Talaria West. Doesn't help us currently. So if we can get like a 0-drop artifact, we can at least cast a whir for 2 and get, Sorcerer's Spyglass, Sword of the Meek, what's we can get on to? Grafdigger's Cage. Or Spell's Guide, some independent on what the situation is. Alright. Looks like it's an opt. Into a Thought Scour, which makes me believe that he has either Tassigar or Gurmag Angler in his hand, and he just wants to delve it out. Oh, it's an Unmoored Ego. Passing the turn. Top drawn and Snaring Bridge. Oh, the feel bads. I mean, so if I was like, I think I would have just cast Unmoored Ego, since he had nothing else to do, and either name like Ensnaring Bridge or Chalice of the Void or War of Invention, because he knows I have one in hand. It's like taking away a whir would be pretty good. Ooh. Tassigar coming down. Passing turn. Bottle Cloister. Ugh. Such feel bad. I was like, just give me a land. Just give me a land. Tassigar's going to come across for 4.
And you're still winning.
I mean, like, you're not wrong. I have more. Okay, I say I had more permanents on the board, and I had a higher life total. Hey, we got a land.
Why is this going past turn 8?
Because my game should always go past turn 8, but I kept a really, I guess, risky hand, and it was just like, so that's one of the things I learned with this deck is you can't keep risky hands. You gotta just.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how this deck does if they implement the new Mulligan rule, which I'm sure you've heard about.
What's the new one?
So they're gonna test it at the Pro Tour, London, War of the Spark, whatever. So if you mulligan once, you still draw 7 cards. If you choose to keep that hand, you take 1 card from your hand and shuffle it. I think if you shuffle it in your deck, you put it on top or bottom. I want to see you shuffle it back in your deck. And so like the Snare and Bridge, Terminus Rejection. So the fact of like you can like the combo decks, right? Like Storm, Tron, Is It Phoenix? Like, hey, like each time I can draw back up to 7, like, oh, if I'm Tron, right? Like, oh, no land on that one. No land on that one. Like, next one. Like, oh, look, Natural Tron, a Karn, and like an Ugin. Yeah, sure, put the other 2 cards back. I don't give a damn. Like, it makes those decks better, and I feel it also make, like, my style of deck better, too. Because it's just like, oh, hey, look. We're Affinity, but Control. So,
I have to look that up.
Yeah. And the big one, oh, looks like he's down ticking a Thoughtseize. He'll be going down to 11.
Or will he?
I mean, well, it looks like he's going to take... I'm not sure what he took. Goddamn glare. I think he took a Bottle Cloister? Hey, Tormod's Crypts. We can now activate our Mox Opal.
Mana.
Right? So I was like, the debate for me here is do I wait and cast a whir for 2, or do I try and cast Tezzeret? And I was like, I think it's try and jam the Tezzeret, because like he doesn't have a way to deal with it on the board. So I'm like, all right, show me a counterspell. And he's like, counter squall. I was like, the one of in your deck from the sideboard, of course you have it. But I mean, if that's stuck, I could just like down tick on the EE and make it a 5/5, and that blocks Tassiger all day. And so that would have been really helpful. But so, you know, some days it's just better to be lucky than good.
Yeah. That's the sad thing, is I just feel a lot of it just is luck. You know, you could get that great starting hand and then hit a fucking 7 mana pocket. Like,
yeah. I mean,
like, where did this come from?
I mean, that is kind of like the nice thing with Magic, though, right? Is like you can be up against a pro player, and even though they're like, you know, way more skilled than you, because of that variance, there's a chance that you can beat them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Unboard Ego.
It all just comes down to just play your deck consistently. As long as you play consistently, then it's not going to matter really who your opponent is, who or what deck they're playing, as long as you have like a decent understanding that, okay, this is the weakness of that deck.
Yeah. It was just like, was it someone had done the statistics on like you know, some of the best players in Magic, like John Finkel. John Finkel overall career win percentage is like 57%.
Jeez.
Right? Like his whole career. This guy like made it into MTG Hall of Fame. And then if you just made him start a new career, he could make it back into the MTG Hall of Fame again after he got in. Like it's ridiculous, but when he only has like a 57% win rate for his career, like you just realize that like how low that is. Like you do, you know, if you're in any other competitive career and you only win 57% of the time, your team's god awful, you know? Like,
sorry, Braun, you gotta go.
Right?
I don't know if you follow basketball at all. I don't.
Not a whole lot.
So LeBron's gone to the Lakers, right?
Yeah.
And he's been horrible over there. Like, he just breaks down and cries. It's so sad.
But he's getting paid, right?
Yeah, that.
I mean, that's...
But it's just, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and that's why I don't watch basketball.
That's fair. Looks like Word of Invention for 2. Is actually trying to... I think he's debating if he wants to, like, counter it or do something. Cause he's trying to think of what's in my deck that's 2 that's going to affect the game. And I was like, I don't even know. I'm just kind of looking through the deck to see if there's something, but... I don't feel like
this is where that playing consistent comes in. Like, you know, when you start thinking about it, you're like, you know, not knowing what they have, or, you know, would I still do this? You know, am I worried about a different threat other than the current threat?
Yeah.
You know, what's the pace of the game?
Right.
That's really what you got to be looking at. And if he realizes the pace, he's ahead. He's got, you know...
Oh, looks like surgical extraction. And then target the Thopter Foundry.
And it's good.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I guess... I was like... He's like, ha! You don't have the common. Like, I had the sword in hand. It didn't matter. Like, I can't get it back right now. And he's just looking there, like, this is only a one of? Yeah, it's only a one of. He's like, God damn it.
Now shuffle my deck.
Right? Got him! Make you do all this work for me. He's just like looking through, like, alright, what, like, Sorcerer Spyglass, like, I can stop the Tasker down tick, but the thing is, I'm just still on a 2-turn clock from that Tasker. I guess, that's something I guess I kind of have an issue with, is, like, the deck just relies on, the Crucible, or the Ensnaring Bridge, you know, stopping your opponent from being aggressive. And then the Chalices to, like, if you're playing up against Burn, Chalice on 1 and 2, can you just, you know, lock him out of the game.
See, and that's what I was thinking, too, with the ally build, is initially I was going with the super aggressive, the Mardu. So I was just, you know, what was it, what's that red one? It's like a 2-drop haste and gives everything +1/+0. And I just found out that anything that shuts down your creatures in any way, you just screwed. You just keep dropping allies that aren't going to be able to do anything.
Exactly.
And so I went away from red and started looking more into black. And that's where I was like, okay, I like the Zulaport Cutthroats and Colostria Healers. Because those were just like, you're pinging them no matter what.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, that doesn't have to target. It's not going to really... You know, as long as I could sit there and slowly whittle you down, I don't care what control you're playing.
Exactly. Looks like Esper gets
You want to give me time, I will take my